Welcome, NoDQ Galaxy, to a brand new edition of the NoDQ Review, number 198, as we count down towards 200, which is coming, I believe, Thursday, August 18th. We're going to take the week before that off because I will be in Myrtle Beach. But we're here right now with 198, joined by this week's elite panel of NoDQ. Of course, myself, Aaron Rift. Jeff Meacham is back. Walter Cruz is here. And JJ. What's up, gentlemen? JJ, I'll start with you.
What's going on, Virtue? Thank you for having me back once again. Always a great time to be on the panel and do these things. First time I get to be on a NoDQ panel with Jeff, so that's definitely going to be interesting. You know, God knows there's enough of me and him talking between my channel and his channel. Now you got the two of us on this. You already had worries about having Walter on, Jeff, on the same show. Now you got me and Jeff. Are you sure this is going to be an hour, Aaron?
Might be two.
We only have a few topics, but we'll see how it goes.
But thank you for having me back, Virtue. I appreciate it.
Good to have you here. And, we'll talk about these topics tonight, and I'm sure by tomorrow there'll be something big, right, that happens in the wrestling world. Jeff, you called it last week.
Thank God we do have a mic night after pay-per-view or premium live event. Sorry, because we can actually talk about it if more shit breaks between now and Saturday night. God almighty.
Right.
It was so. It usually happens right after we get off the air, right? It usually happens like during SmackDown or during the Impact broadcast or whatever. But man, they didn't waste any time Friday morning with making us go. Not only did they announce Hunter, then they announced Vince. It was like, yeah, Aaron, I need to go live. So we did. It's just like shit.
Didn't last year they do the big release like the day after we did it? They released like 20 people.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, to be fair, that was close to cut day anyway. We kind of screw our own pooch there.
Oh, shout out to Colin, the Cleaver Andrew, and all the other guys.
Yes.
I see Robbie in the chat, and he's like, nobody invites me anymore. I mean, don't we have a thing called the NoDQ Review chat? And don't you guys request when you want to be on? Isn't that kind of how it works?
Yeah.
I mean, that if he wanted to be on, he'd be absolutely on. And, of course, I reach out to him to make sure he gets on occasionally.
Anyway, you were struggling to find a fifth today too. Like he could have very easily spoken up, but
he'll say he doesn't do Facebook. He doesn't look at that chat,
which he doesn't, which is true.
So yeah, we'll have to make sure his spot's reserved for the next show. He knows he's going to be on episode 200.
Oh yeah,
Walter, what's going on?
Nothing much. What's going on with you guys? Thanks again for having me back. I wasn't expecting to be on. I was a backup plan, and things happen. So, but I'm always ready. Like they say, be ready, and you won't have to get ready. So right. I'm up here. So I'm up here, and thanks for always
an opportunity, and of course, over to Aaron Rift.
This has been a very eventful week, not just in the wrestling world. Obviously, for those of you that have been following my social media, you know what's up. It's been an interesting week for sure. A lot going on, a lot of wrestling to talk about. We do have SummerSlam coming up this Sunday, or Saturday, I should say. Sunday is Ric Flair's last match.
Woo!
We got a busy weekend coming up. We had a busy week, and we have another busy weekend with a lot to talk about. So I say we get right into it. Looking forward to this one. And Uthman, we will get you on one of these days. We're gonna put you on pretty soon. So be patient a little bit longer. We will get you on.
All right. Well, let's talk about this first, because as we're approaching SummerSlam, they have scratched a match that we were going to have, which was Seth Rollins versus Riddle. Now, here's what we know. It's a kayfabe injury with Riddle. And, whatever the dirt sheets say, I take it with a grain of salt. But I do have a feeling that this definitely is a kayfabe injury, and they're going to postpone that match. Triple H is now in charge of creative. We're going to talk more about that later. We know he likes Seth Rollins. Heck, he brought Matt Riddle to NXT. So there's a plan he has for these guys. Now, what does it mean for Seth Rollins coming up at SummerSlam? Obviously, Riddle has to be gone if he's hurt. So if they postpone that match till Clash of the Castle, whatever, Riddle's gone for the foreseeable future. They got to play the storyline out. Jeff Meacham. Rollins coming up to another major pay-per-view without an opponent. this seems, again, by design, it worked out pretty well for him at WrestleMania. I mean, wins or losses don't matter. The moments matter. Him and Cody had a huge moment. What's going to happen with Rollins?
Well, everybody's throwing, maybe Randy's, well enough to fill in for his partner. Maybe it'll be, wow, that's really horrible Zoom on my part. That's bad. It could be John Cena. I tend to believe that the Gargano family's already booked for Nashville because they'll be at StarCast with the Flair family and all that's going on over there at the fairgrounds. I think it's going to be Gargano that gets put in there. Triple H has always been very high on Johnny Gargano. Didn't really want him to get away. Was out of control of NXT by the time he did get let go. So I think that's going to be one of the first people he gets back into the fold is Johnny Gargano, and he'll be there. He'll be at SummerSlam Saturday and StarCast on Friday and Sunday. So
that's a pretty good pick. I can't necessarily disagree with that. I think that was one of the names I threw out there as you never know after this news broke. So we will see what happens there. I'm interested to hear what JJ has to say about this. And I know the Riddle haters are loving this because he's pulled from a major pay-per-view. Oh, they are loving this, but I feel that it's a reset with him, and Triple H is, getting him in line, you know what I mean? He's putting his chess pieces. What do you think here?
I definitely think that Triple H is trying to take advantage of the situation and maybe try to bring a little bit of his vision for NXT back into play, whether it's going to be bringing people back to the main roster that got away or whatever. Gargano is definitely a sound call. I read somebody's theory on social media saying that maybe Seth will throw out an open challenge and Carmelo Hayes will come out there from NXT and issue a challenge. Maybe they'll do something, even though it would feel like a step down of sorts for Rollins. Maybe they'll do something with Rollins and Walter and actually have the Intercontinental title come to the pay-per-view. Shock. I know. God knows it's been years since we've seen the IC title defended on a major pay-per-view. But with it being SummerSlam and with, Hunter's history with the IC title and specifically at SummerSlam, I think back to that ladder match with The Rock at the Garden. Maybe there'll be something there.
And here's the thing. I'm going to throw this name out. Bray Wyatt? No?
No. I mean, we've clearly learned in the last few days never say never.
Yeah.
But
Definitely.
Bray Wyatt's almost at that never status at this point, I think.
And how much, being head of talent relations, which we're going to talk about that with Triple H, does that mean he can sign people, or does he have to obviously, go to the board for that? Stephanie, Nick Conn, or can he bring somebody back? I mean, talent relations,
It's my understanding that he can recruit, but the ultimate, on the dotted line is eventually got to be, in this case now, it's either Stephanie or Nick.
But that's it. It's interesting nonetheless, right?
It is, but you figure that, even if he's got to confer with Stephanie, it's like, that's his wife. She's going to trust his judgment.
Yeah, how often is she going to reject what he says?
It's like you got a better chance of Nick Khan resisting his desires to sign somebody, but if he just goes to Steph and hey, we need to get this person on the roster, she's going to be like, all right, babe.
Yeah, that's going to be the interesting part of it. I still think Gargano is the most likely. I mean, Rollins might not even have a match, right? Did they say he has an open challenge? He's making it out like he's got nothing to do now.
All they said was postponed as of now. So
Walter,
there was that tweet though that went out where the Triple H responded to "I hear you." Seth had thrown out this tweet about how he's lost his match now and making a name or whatever, and Hunter's just like, I hear you. So while there's nothing definite as far as an open challenge goes, you figure there's going to be something done with Rollins because that's one of Hunter's guys. Yep.
Hey, Karrion Kross. I mean, it's interesting because
also going to be in Nashville.
Yeah, just you never know. Walter, what do you think here?
It is interesting, and I think that you got right on the money about Riddle. I think it is kind of a repackaging or a reset, and he's about to become a major player, so he's got to play up the injury angle. So it is an angle, in my opinion. You could do so much things with Rollins. You could do the open challenge. I like JJ's idea of the IC title. I mean, SummerSlam and the IC title has some of the greatest memories and matches. I mean, you think of Mr. Perfect versus Bret Hart. You think of Bret Hart and British Bulldog. Some of the greatest SummerSlam matches were for the Intercontinental Champion. But, you know, of course, it had prestige back then. And with how they booked it lately, no one cares about that title. But, I mean, it would be nice if Walter or Gunther comes out and answers an open challenge for Seth and we get an IC title impromptu match at SummerSlam. You know, do something. Just make Seth feel important, because he's been on a losing streak. He's lost a little momentum. Maybe somebody pulled him to the side, thanked him for what he's doing, and there's some reward in the end. Like maybe he's going to be the Rumble winner. Maybe something's happening and Triple H pulled him to the side and said, "Your time's coming. Just be a little patient with us."
You know what? We're going to find out Saturday. I mean, either he's going to have a match, it's going to be against whoever, or he's not, and we're going to just be waiting for the next for Raw, right? Aaron, what do you think here? And did anybody in the chat bring up anything?
First of all, I do want to get to the super chat that Walter sent earlier. He said, "Say yes to no DQ, share and like, hashtag stick to my shtick." Appreciate that, Walter. Thank you for that. And Hamp Connell sent in a $2 super chat, says, "I could see Dean Ambrose returning eventually." Jeff doesn't think so. I think he'll go into the Hall of Fame with the Shield, but I would be surprised to see him back as an active competitor in WWE.
Again, never say never, like we all sing, but
okay.
More often than not, people like to come back to the E for that one last run.
But is Moxley that guy? I mean, everybody comes back eventually, right?
Exactly.
So
Usually.
Okay. One last thing here I do want to address. Tim said that I want this to be over with so I can get back to browsing my Instagram with my lotion. And you're right. See, I got my Instagram feed right here, and I just love these videos with the dog. See?
Woo!
Moon, say happy Father's Day!
See, I'm obsessed with those Instagram videos of cats and dogs just doing goofy stuff. So, yes, you're right, Tim. I want to get back to that as soon as possible. So I'll drop that and get to the topic here. Shanti sent in a $5 super chat, says, "Aloha from Hawaii." How's it going, Shanti? He says, "Happy No DQ Day. Tonight, I'm hoping to meet Reckoning. Sorry, I meant Mercedes Martinez."
Hey, that is the Ring of Honor Women's Champion. You put some respect on that, you and your damn Aloha, Shanti.
Wait, so Reckoning is in Hawaii right now?
Yes, she is. For
Oh.
whatever reason. I'm not sure why.
I did not know that. But anyways, let's get to the topic here. Seth Rollins and Riddle. I was looking forward to that match. I think
I was too.
a lot of people were looking forward to that more than any other match on the card. That was like right up there with the main event. I feel like that was going to be an awesome match. I thought that it was tough to predict because Riddle needed a win after what happened on Raw. He got beat by Roman in the main event, and then he got beat up by Rollins. But Rollins lost to Cody Rhodes 3 times. It was an odd match to book. But I
wonder if that's why Triple H scrapped it. Didn't know who to put over.
Well, maybe they'll save it for a later date. I could see it happening at Clash at the Castle. Maybe do a few more matches with them facing other guys before that, and let one guy rack up a few wins before he loses. Very well could be the case.
Possibly. I mean, Rollins hasn't won a match on pay-per-view all year. Or
And I'm
PLE,
fine.
excuse me.
I'm fine with Rollins coming out there again, wondering what's going to happen. I mean, that would be 2 major events in a row, and they could have something with this leading into next year's WrestleMania. Like, why am I not getting matches until the day of the show? So we'll have to see.
yeah, Sami Zayn's the one walking around talking about conspiracies, but it should be Rollins. There it goes, right there. You can say there's a conspiracy.
Right.
Now,
So,
Jeff, the other thing I wanted to mention about this, I see people talking about Seth Rollins versus a mystery guy. Did I miss something? Was that officially confirmed by WWE? So this
It wasn't.
is speculation that
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
See, I feel like he's not having a match period. They got 8 matches, and that could fill 3 hours easily. So maybe they just felt like timing-wise, it was better to save it for another pay-per-view. But yeah, I'm not sure where this mystery opponent match for Rollins came from. I know Triple H said on Twitter, "I hear you," which I think that fueled the speculation. I would be surprised though if Gargano shows up. It'd be cool, but I'm not exactly expecting that.
What did Hunter say when Rollins laid that chair upside of Reigns? There's always a plan B.
Very true.
And by the way, chat room, you guys are right. Reckoning was actually Mia Yim. Mercedes' name was Retaliation. It's easy to mix it up because the storyline and the faction was so cluster beepy. So I apologize for falling in line with the chat, but yeah, it's Retaliation. So are you meeting Mia Yim or are you meeting Mercedes? Shanti is the question in the chat.
Yeah, and I agree with Michael Wayne. I think if Rollins faces anybody last minute, it'll be somebody like AJ Styles.
Too bad the title match was a last man standing, because that could have screamed to insert him into there to make a threat.
Yeah, for sure.
But what if Seth Rollins is out there with the mic and Edge comes back out?
He might.
There you go.
I could definitely see that being a possibility.
I'm going to go with either one of those scenarios. There's a lot of good that can come out of it. The whole thing online is, oh God, Seth can't lose another match. The mission opponent. It's like, sure he can. It's just, does Seth need the win? Yeah, but is it okay if Gargano loses if he comes back? Yeah. Is it okay if AJ loses? Yeah. Is it okay if Edge loses? Probably not.
No. I did say this is the hardest. That was the hardest one to predict. Like I was struggling with that one.
Yeah. Seriously, last year at SummerSlam, it was difficult. I was there. It was difficult. But like, okay, well, he got the co-entrance, but now is he going to win still? And he did, of course. So, we'll see.
Aaron, any other super chats? Are we caught up?
I think we're caught up.
So we'll move on. So for the main event, we're going to talk about the board shakeup in WWE, right? But I do want to mention for this particular topic that Triple H is now head of talent relations. The reason why I want to bring that up is because what recently happened with Sasha and Naomi, does this change maybe the fate of them coming back? And of course, we kind of talked about Gargano and other past names. Is there anybody else over time like that could come back because of Triple H? And Vince has been cast aside. Jeff Meacham, this is very interesting to think about. I know some columnists on NoDQ have written about this past week, and let's talk about it.
Yes. First of all, the parade for the exodus of Johnny Ace starts at noon tomorrow. Let me point that out there now. I'm on the lead float for that thing. Screw that piece of shit, organized. Okay. I wouldn't be okay. It really depends on who's available, whose contract is up, and where. Oh yeah, Adam Cole's coming back. It's like, no, Adam Cole is out with an injury, as is the other 2 members of that particular faction, and they're already touting the fact that the Undisputed Leader are going to be back on AEW TV here. I think either Friday night, tomorrow night, or next week on Dynamite. So we're not going to see those guys just jump back. Hunter's back in charge. Let's go ahead and get the hell out of here. No, Naomi, I think is more likely than Sasha. I don't think Sasha's leaving has as much to do with Vince or even Laurinaitis. As much as I'd love to heap shit on him because he deserves it. It's more about creative over time, including when Triple H had his hands in that cookie jar. Creative in general was not, in Mercedes' opinion, kind to her. So I don't think we see her come back. Naomi's more likely. She's still got the ties to the bloodline, so they want to be able to bring her in and have the nice happy family reunion on that front, right? But as we've been reading all week, there's not going to be all these massive changes right away. We also need to get through Saturday and see how Saturday shakes out, and then get to Raw Monday, as was said multiple times, on NoDQ and everywhere else. This coming Monday's Raw is the first actual one with Hunter's vision being implemented, because according to one of the things I saw on NoDQ, a lot of Raw was already in the books before the big reveal last Friday. So and of course he announced it Friday, but then they had the big PR, the big press release Monday morning, which really made it official. So I don't think we see a whole lot of like mass exoduses from other companies back into the E. Like I said, the only exodus I want to see is a parade to celebrate the goodbye of John Laurinaitis, because I will be on that lead float every day, tap my freaking stand, trumpet and everything.
Now, it's been known that Triple H, has pulled the political card as a performer when he still wrestled matches to always kind of position himself in the best light possible. But as a talent guy and working with NXT, hasn't he given opportunities to wrestlers? So I can't see, I saw Tito made a comment, I can't see how him in this role, he would be a snake, like, everything that CM Punk said with Vince McMahon, nothing's going to change. Triple H isn't like an active performer any longer, and he's different. The diehard wrestling fans loved his NXT vision because he gave those people opportunities. He's in a position to give those people, the CM Punks, the younger CM Punks, the opportunity, right?
Yeah, it's one of those, there was so much, conspiracy theories going around when the announcement went down. It's like, okay, well, Stephanie took that mysterious familial hiatus, and Triple H made it a point to retire and lay his boots down in the ring. It was all this big thing. I honestly think they've known about this longer than anybody is telling or any of us actually realized, right? So I think that Hunter's been gearing up for this moment to go into effect. It's just been a matter of waiting for the other shoe to fall. The one shoe fell at WrestleMania when he retired his boot. The other one has now fallen as of Monday morning. So, like I said, let's get through Nashville, and then Monday night we'll see what really starts to get that ball rolling.
Well, now, Walter, regarding Triple H, who is there really on the roster that wasn't like some type of FCW or NXT along the way to where he would bury because they weren't one of his signings? There really isn't any, is there? I mean, what's your thoughts on this whole thing?
I don't think there is much. And then everybody talk about Triple H. Yeah, he had politics stuff, but he had to do what booking say. All the burying that he did, he was booked to do that. He was just doing his job. You can't really just be pissed off at him. I mean, yeah, there's backstage politics, but he did what he was told to do, and he made a career out of it. So kudos to him. Stop saying he's the barrier of anything, or John Cena buries everybody. They're just booked to win more often because they drew money, and Vince saw them as gold mines. So what the hell? Vince is going to book them as winning all the time.
Hey, guess what? Really... Triple H has one more shot at now to prove his naysayers wrong. Can he find a WrestleMania main eventer? In the next couple of years, we're going to know for sure now.
Yeah, definitely. But with all things in life, things take time. I think everybody's just rushing it. He just got into position. Look, when Vince took it from his father, it wasn't immediate. Where he had to have some time to create WrestleMania, to make this conglomerate that WWE became. It took decades to make WWE what it is today. He didn't do it in one night. Things need to take time. Everybody needs to stop rushing him. Let him get his feet wet a little. Let him see what he's got to do, and then expect changes. Give it 2-3 years. I know it sounds long, but you got to give it some time.
So what's your thoughts on Sasha and Bayley with all of this?
I think,
or not Bayley. We're waiting to see Bayley back from injury.
I think in terms of Sasha, you got to look at it from a business standpoint. She has a history of this. Do you really want that in your environment? Like, do you want to bring her back? Everybody's like, Sasha coming back, Sasha coming back. You got to think of WWE side. Do they even want her back? Because it brings toxicity into the locker room. She already has a history of doing this back and forth. When she doesn't get her way, like a spoiled child, she walks away. And I'm a fan of hers, and I love her.
I'm going to play devil's advocate here. That's a lot like Triple H's in-ring career. And of course, who gave Sasha that platform in NXT with those matches with Bayley? I don't know. The perfect storm seems like it's coming together here, man.
It could be, but I'm just saying, I wouldn't be shocked or surprised if she comes back. But if she does, she does. If she doesn't, but I'm with Jeff. I think Naomi has the better chance of coming back. She's got the whole ties with the bloodline, and I know Aaron gave up on the idea. Maybe they finally pull the trigger with Triple H in charge and add her to the bloodline. I know you gave up on that dream, but you never know.
That before Vince retired, things changed.
Things changed. Plans changed. All right, JJ, what's your thoughts here on this topic with Triple H, Sasha, Naomi, anybody else?
Well, to answer the question you posed to Walter, the biggest name I can think of that's come along the past few years that Triple H didn't bring through his NXT was AJ Styles.
true.
That's probably the biggest name that he could then bury because he wasn't his creation. But then you're talking about the phenomenal one. Like, you don't want to bury AJ Styles.
And look at AJ's booking the last year or two. Like Vince McMahon has already kind of put him off to the side. So how worse? It can't get worse for AJ, right? Probably be better.
Yeah, it can only get better. I mean, at the end of the day, and this may be a little blasphemous to say, but I've always thought of AJ as like our generation's Shawn Michaels. So, like, you figure how close Hunter is to Shawn, and he's got AJ that he could basically try to book like Shawn.
So Tito's saying Triple H signed AJ. Jeff, is that true?
I don't know because
we don't know
I don't think so.
who would have been head of talent relations in 2016 or whenever he came in.
16, Hunter was in charge of talent relations, live events, and whatever that third. He had this long, obnoxious title in 2016. I can't remember what the third.
He might have had influence on getting him signed, but I'm pretty sure he's not the one who had the. Yeah.
I mean, strangely enough,
AJ
AJ skipped NXT, right? He skipped NXT.
I was out of it in 2016. I wasn't watching, so I'm not sure who was technically was the one to sign him. But you mentioned about who didn't come through his version of NXT.
Okay, so you're looking
so
at
that's where I was
coming
from is that point. But as far as Sasha and Naomi, this can only be a positive as far as them. You know, whether Sasha is toxic or isn't toxic, you figure with Vince out now, and especially with the allegations that followed him, it's going to look a little bit better trying to bring these two talented ladies back into the fold. And then you take a look at the other people that Hunter had influence with who haven't yet to sign to AEW. You know, I see Cross keep getting mentioned in the chat room. Like, there's always the possibility of re-recruiting him, Gargano, like was talked about earlier, Candice by proxy with Gargano.
I wonder if Triple H would use this as a pitching point to get people back. Things are different now. Vince is gone. Maybe that's a pitching point
Quite possibly. But then as far as him in control and what's going to come from it, you know, the Raw after SummerSlam is going to be an interesting step to see what's to come in the future. But I don't think we're really going to start seeing the full image start to come together until at least Rumble next year, more so like Mania. You know, got to give time for everything to kind of breathe and put the chess pieces into the proper places and building the people up.
And of course, it always gets fans chatting when things like this happen. And that's exactly what we're doing. Aaron Rift.
I do not really have too much to add to what you guys have already talked about. I think that it's a wait and see process. I'm still curious as to how much things are going to change in the short term. Now, if we see Johnny Gargano show up very soon, and if we see Karrion Kross return with Scarlett, then you know Triple H is definitely making some things happen. And if that's the case, I think the odds are definitely increased that Sasha Banks and not Bayley. See, look what you got me going here with Virtue. Sasha Banks.
Well, we're waiting for her to come back, obviously.
And
Bayley's on the mind.
We said she was going to be back at WrestleMania. Didn't happen. Thought she was going to be back at Money in the Bank. Didn't happen. We think she's going to be back at SummerSlam. I'll believe it when I see it. I hope so. We all want Bayley back. Sasha Banks and Naomi, I think that Walter made a good point about them. Sasha has a history, but at the same time, Vince McMahon was in charge when Sasha was having those issues, and now he's gone. Time will tell. I think that there is a decent possibility both of them will be back. And I always thought there was a better chance of Naomi coming back, but I would not rule out Sasha coming back now that Vince is out of the picture. When we talked about this even just a few weeks ago, Vince was still in the picture. Things are changing now, and we'll have to see to what degree they change over the next couple of weeks. It could be months before we see them again. It might not be something that happens right away, but it'll be interesting to see how it plays out for sure.
Yeah,
Now,
as they give it some patience, a lot of people are going to tweet it's a failure after 6-7 months. You got to give it more than a year, like at least 2 or 3. You got to give it time.
JJ?
I think an interesting test to what's going to happen as far as Hunter and his booking, and I know this name has been talked about a lot, at least as far as me and Jeff's shows go, is Theory.
Yes,
I think he's going to be a huge test for Triple H, because you figure he got his major start in the way on NXT with Gargano, with Candice. So one would feel, especially being that I was out of it at the time, that he was an original Hunter guy. Granted, he got labeled with the Vince stank on the shows, being his hand-picked person or whatever, but if he was a Hunter guy and he was part of that whole faction, you would think that it's the type of person that Hunter is still high on. So what's going to happen with Theory? What's going to happen with his briefcase? What's going to happen with that whole push? And I feel like that's going to be a huge test as far as where Hunter's going to go with some of these people.
Let me ask you this. On Raw, where do you think the daddy comment came from? Roman? Paul Heyman? Triple H? Because that was a very, very interesting line for Roman Reigns to say.
Honestly,
he's the head of the table. He can do whatever he wants. But
that
I'm
seems
just
improvised.
I mean, where do you guys think? Do you think that was just Roman?
It honestly could have come from any one of those. You figure Roman definitely has the gift of gab, just like Rocky did. You figure Paulie is the type of guy to take those little quirky pot shots. You've seen some of Paul's ECW promos in the past. Granted, he doesn't have the same kind of heat with Vince today that he did when he was trying to make ECW a huge thing. But you could definitely see either one of them, kind of nudging to make that little comment, just for no other reason but to be topical.
I think it was improvised. And did you see Paul Heyman's reaction? I don't think it came from him. Paul's reaction looked legit.
Paulie is great at the sell, though. Go back and watch his reaction when Brock broke the streak, and Paulie knew.
Well,
so
but actually, JJ, it's been said that Paul wasn't 100% sure about the streak, and based on the fact that he got into the business because he freaking hustled his way into, the Garden with Vince Sr. and the steakhouse story, he looked visibly uncomfortable. Even for Paul, that was a hard sell. He looked like it was like, I don't know. Like, I mean, the freaking Usos are like, daddies. They were into it, right?
Yeah.
But Paul turned off camera, looking like, oh my god, forgive me, Vince Sr., forgive me, like type shit. Like, I don't know about Paul knowing.
Hey, Virtue, you know who should take advantage of this, of the whole Triple H changing and Vince McMahon gone? If he was smart, Tony Khan with the whole MJF thing should take advantage of this and make it look like now he's closer to getting to WWE, even though we know he's under contract for a few more years. But now you can take advantage of it and draw eyes to AEW. You need to bring MJF back now. And
that's true, but you got to remember, this is Tony Khan is the guy that's trying to sell MJF as this legitimate heat and this is happening, but yet the dirt sheets are saying, no, this is all a work. This is a Pillman. And who works closely, most likely, allegedly, Tony Khan loves the dirt sheets. So that's too. I just can't buy it. I mean, would I love to see let him be creative like that? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
so?
It would be
No.
so great for TV right now.
Never gonna happen.
For the record, Virtue, Triple H's title in 2013 was EVP of Talent, Live Events, and Creative. So he was basically running everything, but not sitting in the center seat.
Well, yeah, but AJ came in what 16?
16.
Yeah.
He would have been the guy, or at least the key executive to bring him in. Yeah.
Aaron Riff, was there super chatters? Anybody else want to add before we move to the main event? I hear
And,
dog.
You guys hear a dog?
Yeah.
Son
I
of
hear
a
a dog.
bitch. It's a big dog, a neighbor from across the way. Nothing I can do about it.
That's from Aaron's this time. Oh my gosh. It's normally somebody else.
Well, you remember, Aaron has a known dog. That's from the neighbors.
It's the big dog. Anyways, as you guys hear that wonderful background ambience, MJF, I mean, just sidetracking here for a second. 2 weeks, we have the Quake by the Lake, Chris Jericho versus Jon Moxley. I'm really hoping after Jon Moxley beats Jericho, that's when MJF shows up, lays out Jon Moxley, and we set up All Out. Moxley defending against MJF. MJF wins the title, and then at Full Gear, it's CM Punk versus MJF, champion versus champion. That's what I want to see. But we'll move on here. James did send in a $10 super chat. Says Brock Lesnar, and thank you, James, for the generous super chat. He says Brock Lesnar goes to toss Roman off the stage. Theory comes out, shoves both of them off, hands in case. Per rules of the match, both men down for 10 count. Theory wins. No one looks weak or takes a pin.
I actually didn't think about this. We were talking about this on Tuesday because we all of us were saying, oh, well, you know, if it's a triple threat, it can't become last. It still can't be last man standing. This is the way to do it.
Yeah,
it is.
I still don't think it's going to happen because they've made it too obvious.
Yeah.
Like
I'm thinking
he's
the same
definitely
thing,
cashing in. I don't think he's going to do it. And if he does, he'll fail at it or something like that. I don't think he's going to leave the stadium as champion.
Right.
I don't think so either.
All right, moving on. We'll probably talk about this. We will talk about this for the rest of the show. So the WWE boardroom shakeup. So obviously last Friday, Vince McMahon announced that he's retiring as CEO and from creative, and he is going home while all these things are being investigated on him. And of course, Stephanie McMahon, we already knew she was the interim CEO, but joining her now is co-CEO Nick Conn, who's been responsible for a lot of these huge WWE deals the past several years. And here he is. Could he have been the guy that leaked all of that stuff to get in power? I always thought he was real tight with the McMahon family, so I'm not quite sure about that. And of course, we know that Triple H is head of talent relations, which we've already talked about. So this is the big topic. And what pisses me off is the fact that Vince McMahon has done what he's done for wrestling fans. There would be no AEW if Vince McMahon didn't do what he did with WWE. Now, I know we have problems like some of you. He's got morality issues, right? Using funds, company funds, and paying women to shut up and whatever. Look, as of right now, I don't see Vince McMahon as being accused of rape in a criminal court setting or anything like that. And in the world of Hollywood, look at all the weirdness that's going on there. It seems like anything Vince did was, at least that we know right now through these reports, consented. Okay? So just show the man some respect for putting wrestling on a platform that nobody ever thought wrestling would be like that big. What is your whole thought? Walter, I'll start with you here with the WWE boardroom shakeup. And I know we've talked about this last week. No pun. I didn't say that on purpose. They're touched. Like I said, could Vince still be in power, like behind the scenes? Not just like the people that are in place still would listen to him or use his philosophy. I mean, there's a lot to digest here that only time will tell. Yeah. But go ahead.
Yeah, you never know. And still, for all what is he accused of, I'm like, who am I to judge? I don't give a damn. It's not. I wasn't involved. I'm not no moral. Like, we all got our flaws, so who the hell cares if it's moral?
Well, and a lot of people that like are hard on these people that are accused of things. How many sins have they committed? You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, throw the first stone or whatever it went with. Yep. I'm not very religious, but however that saying goes, he without sin throw the first stone. But Vince has such a smart and sharp business mind that whether he's running it from behind the scenes, Triple H and Stephanie are still going to go to him for ideas or still go, be it whether it's a text, whether it's picking at the brain, they got access to him, it's the father-in-law and the father. They're going to go to him regardless. So Vince isn't just going to all but disappear. Like, he's going to be giving advice. We're still going to see his influence in what Stephanie and Triple H does, no matter what. It's still his baby. And like you said, until we see that he had to sell 100% of his stock, you don't know what they're doing backstage.
I mean, we know
or
he's
behind
at
the
least
scenes.
at home. We know
Yeah.
he's at least at home making more money off of WWE than anybody else or group that
Yeah.
owns shares because of how much he has of them. So he's
Exactly.
still cashing in on his lifelong work, right? I mean,
Yeah, and
even if he's not
exactly.
inputting anything into the company. See, that's the thing. If they were private, if they never went public,
Mhm.
none of this would matter. He could do
Exactly.
whatever he wants with this company money. But that's
Exactly.
the problem. It went public, and yeah.
And for all Vince is, he's such a big part of my life, and wrestling has been such a big part of my life that you can do nothing but respect it. I can't just up and think he's morally incorrect and forget everything that he's done or brought in the entertainment he's brought over the years. So people just is, what have you done for me lately? And people forget so quickly, like people's history and everything else, just because you do one bad thing or somebody does bad, one thing wrong, and people, it's just how quick people forget.
There was a time I hated Eric Bischoff for the longest time, and I look back on it. His vision brought the Attitude Era. I mean, he didn't plan it that way, but the Monday Night War and whatnot. So, like, you almost have to thank all of them. Ted Turner, right? I mean, if it wasn't for him, WCW wouldn't have got that big.
Or imagine how if Vince felt the way people feel about him towards other people or his competition, he would have never brought Eric Bischoff over to Raw, and we wouldn't have got those fun moments, or him throwing, having Eric thrown in the trash bin. All that stuff was fun. So I mean, and if he held grudges and feel the way people feel about him, he would have never brought Eric on board either. Or any of these former WCW wrestlers. Goldberg, we would have never seen Booker T in WWE. He could have held the grudge and said, I'm buying you all out. Screw you guys. Make it on your own.
Yep.
But that's not how business works.
And he's brought back Goldberg multiple times. All right, JJ, what's your thoughts here on the whole WWE boardroom shakeup?
Well, I definitely feel like it's something that's long overdue. I mean, we've all been talking about it for years. Hell, the way WWE was going back in 2012, 2013, 2014 is what made me stop watching in the first place. So things were stale. Things needed to be shaken up. It was time for Vince to move on anyways, because at the end of the day, he just was getting out of touch with what was popular, what was good, what the fans really wanted. So on that aspect, it's definitely a positive, but kind of like Walter was talking about there, you don't have pro wrestling what it is today without what Vince did. You talk about how people do all this good and then one negative thing is just all they remember them by. It makes me think of another tragedy that happened within WWE back in 2007. Everyone forgets all about the good that man did inside the ring. And
Chris Benoit, one of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time. Yeah, I said it. That's never going to change because of what he ended up doing to his family and himself. Thanks for bringing him up. Thanks for
never
bringing
going
him
to
up.
change for me either. I still say Kurt Angle had some of his greatest matches against Chris Benoit.
Yeah.
I didn't know how the channel would feel about mentioning his name. That's why I talked around it. But yeah, I mean,
that's why I did what I did.
Thank you, Virtue. But yeah, I mean, Chris Benoit is arguably one of the top 5 greatest technical wrestlers of all time. But everyone talks about what happened that one weekend. Vince McMahon was a creative genius for years. But eventually you run out of ideas. Eventually you get so far from what is popular, what is hip, what is now, what is cool, that you lose touch of things. And when you've got people that are your kids, your in-laws, your grandkids that you could be looking to for inspiration, and you're not wanting to hear them, you're not wanting to hear your talent, like Punk said in that pipe bomb, then you end up losing fans, which is why AEW was so quick to grow the way that it has. Because there was that legitimate alternative.
Yep.
You know?
Now
I'm gonna be sad a little bit that Vince is not in control anymore, that his presence won't be felt, but it was time. I was really hoping we'd get a little video package or something from him at the Garden at WWE's home venue. You know, just a little quick blip on the Titantron. Hey, thank you for all the years of support. Thank you for letting me and my family do what we've done. It was because of you. And just like have that be his little swan song on camera. I was really hoping we'd get something like that at the Garden, but alas, we didn't. You know.
I don't think they did it because it probably would have been seen as disrespectful to what he was accused of by them people.
Yeah.
For them to kind of glorify him like that.
Timing's just not right. And for Vince to have to leave, there must be something going on here with these accusations that he's got to go, you know, and they can't really glorify him right now. Will things change? We don't know. We don't know how the legal process is going to go. We have to wait and see what happens. But for Vince to walk away, I think it has to be pretty serious. And I get that they don't want to start glorifying him right now when all this is going on. Just not a good look for the company.
Yeah.
Right.
Although Stephanie did kind of at the SmackDown when she came out.
Thank you, Vince. And you know what? If you go on Twitter, a lot of people did not like that. A lot of people saying that was cringe.
Well, thank you, Vince McMahon, for doing that. And you know what? I can't wait till your music hits again and you come back out there. That is going to be spectacular. I don't know if I chased JJ Williams off. All right, Jeff, I'm coming over to you now.
No, you didn't chase me off. Just my default picture on StreamYard.
I wasn't going to do what I just said about Chris Benoit.
Okay, yeah,
No.
Virtue.
My default picture on StreamYard is me and Vince McMahon. So
Oh,
when you
gotcha,
said thank
okay.
you, Vince, I threw that up there
Yeah,
for a moment.
FYI, guys, since you started praising Chris Benoit, we've dropped quite a bit of viewers live.
Chris Benoit.
Thanks, Virtue.
Chris
Thank you,
Benoit.
Virtue, for losing
Chris
our viewers.
Benoit. Chris Benoit.
I'm sorry,
Chris
he's still.
Benoit.
I'm sorry. Yes, he did what he did, but he still existed, and he's still one of the greatest
And
technical
people
wrestlers ever.
don't have to glorify him one bit if they don't want to.
Yeah.
Wrestling
Exactly.
fans just are
Here,
so
here you go.
sensitive. Everybody in the world is just so sensitive. No shit. We know Chris Benoit committed a heinous crime, and it sucks that it all happened. And I wish we could go back and stop it from happening, get him some help, and everybody's still. But you know what I mean? You can't just sit there. It's a celebrity, and we talk about, like, you know what I mean? You just can't sit there and get pissed at other people for giving their opinions. It's not like I'm condoning what happened in his house.
It's been talked about. It's a very touchy subject.
Yeah.
You know, there's two sides to it. I mean, there's no justifying his actions, but at the same time, they did say he had the brain of an 80-year-old.
Yep. And doing the wrestling is how he got that.
He was not mentally well. His brain was effed up badly.
Which is why I'm still shocked that Bryan Danielson is still doing this headbutt dive after all that.
Well,
has he really done it lately, though?
Not lately, but he still made it part of his arsenal in general.
I haven't seen him do it lately, but I did see him do cattle mutilation last night, and that I popped hard for that because I haven't seen him do that in years.
I think he's still done it after he came back from a concussion. It still was done, but he doesn't do it often.
So, okay, if anybody was offended by me bringing up Chris Benoit and blah, 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 okay, I apologize.
Right.
But I don't apologize for him being a great wrestler before his heinous crimes.
And Virtue.
I don't.
As far as Vince goes, I mean, it's tough because he's brought us so many great moments of entertainment over the decades. Is he a great human being? I don't think so, in my opinion. He's done a lot of questionable things, no doubt about it. But we've all kept watching anyway. Pretty much everyone in this chat room continues to follow
and Aaron,
knowing all of these things that Vince McMahon has done. Some of these accusations of sexual abuse and And everything from the Jimmy Snuka incident in 1983 with Snuka's girlfriend dying, all these things have been out there for decades, yet people have continued to follow WWE despite knowing all of this information.
And how many
Snuka's in the Hall of Fame.
Yes. How many like singers, movie stars, athletes do we like that have done bad things or allegedly did bad things? It's just the nature. You know what I mean? Now, I'm not saying we got a bunch of O.J. Simpson fans out there, but the guy got, you know what I mean? But like, if you go and look at all the forms of entertainment you watch, and a lot of the people that you love watching over the years, there's probably a lot of bad apples in there.
Mike Tyson?
That's just
Mike
all it
Tyson.
is. It
That's a Hall of
sucks.
Famer.
Yeah.
Now that we're talking about this, you know who Triple H?
Jeff still has to talk on this main event.
Yeah, but now that we're talking about that, you know who Triple H might bring back, who's accused of things, but it was never guilty? Velveteen Dream. He can bring him back. He was never proven guilty. Yeah, Enzo. Yeah, he was never proven guilty. You can bring him back. Velveteen Dream.
I maybe 5 to 10 years down the line.
It's a long shot, but as far as anything I know, he was never proven guilty.
I know, it's weird. It's just weird.
It's just if it's bad publicity, I don't think they're going to touch it with a 10-foot pole.
And because Aaron, they're publicly traded,
right?
And they have so many people, advertisers, shareholders. They're in a tough spot, and so when this kind of stuff happens, that's why they do it. Aaron, we'll come back to you again. I'm not sure if any more super chats came in, but Jeff Meacham, you are now at the podium.
First of all, I love Daniel's comment in the chat room. He was at a Q&A recently with Kurt Angle, and when Kurt said Benoit's name, there was a cheer, yet when he said Goldberg's name, there was booing. That says everything. Goldberg's never murdered anybody except Bret Hart's career. So, I mean, there's just that. Anyway, and again, like we talked about, 82-year-old Alzheimer's brain. It wasn't Chris Benoit those last 3 days of his life. Let's just be clear on that. And by the way, Richard, thank you, Benoit. Yeah, seriously. Thank you, Chris Benoit. Seriously, 15 years strong. Anyway, and if I'm a dick, whatever, block me or whatever. I don't give a shit at this point. As far as Vince goes, it's been said all week. It was a comment in the chat room. It was time 2 or 3 years ago. It was time longer than 2 or 3 years ago, folks. Let me be very clear. Vince's creative direction, I think, fell off. I won't even say during the initial start of the PGR. God, my shot is so shitty when I'm by myself. I think that creative really started to fall off, and again, the CM Punk fans are going to hate me, but it was around the time he started the big summer of Punk. 2011 really, for me, started the creative dip down. It was just, it seems to have fallen off. Yes, we had the Daniel Bryan moment in the last, 10 years. Yes, we've had certain bright spots, but overall, the presentation has been really just not up to specs from the Attitude Era or even the Ruthless Russian era. And, Aaron made a point that we all follow it. To be fair, Aaron, you and I follow it because we kind of have to. It's one of those things. If you do a wrestling podcast, wrestling website, WWE is the company. It has been since Vince, purchased the shares from his father, from Gorilla, from Arnie, from everybody else that was involved in that transaction. But it is a very weird feeling to think about how, where we go as fans, as people that cover this business on the regular, to a WWE that is not being directly controlled creative Vince McMahon. And if that report that came out this week is to be believed, he is a minority owner in the WWE for the first time in his life. He owns 10% of the company. That's Vince.
How? He still owns like 30 some. He owned 38% of the shares. 5% or something had to go back because he retired. As far as I know, he hasn't sold any. Now, it's not a majority in terms of over 50%, but he owns more of the pie than anybody else with the shareholders.
And again, I have to go back and read the report again. Jerry brought it up during SummerSlam predictions on Tuesday, and I read that was from not just Fightful, but a few sources that confirm. And again, sources are what they are on the internet wrestling community, right? But either way, he's not the minority owner anymore. And that is still a weird thought after 40 years of him basically engineering the takeover. And, everybody said, oh, well, Vince's father would be spinning his grave if he saw. He's even said himself, his dad kind of knew, but he hoped it wouldn't be as cutthroat as it was. But even Vince and Jay McMahon probably knew better at NoDQ. And to be fair, Vince and Jay McMahon he was so sick at that point. Nobody knew how bad off Vince Sr. was until the very end, except the inner circle. But I'm curious how it's gonna play out. Like I said, Monday night will be a real big indication for me, because we'll, in theory, not Austin, see the true implementation of Triple H's creative direction now that he's in charge of creative and in charge of talent relations. He's basically in control of everything we see come Monday night.
Regarding shares, I don't think anything changed there. Power, voting power, he lost. That's all gone. Right. That he was a majority of. Now that is gone for the first. I don't know what those reports said, but that I'll agree with you on. There's no Vince McMahon decision making anymore or vetoing power any longer.
Right. I'll try to find the report again when you can throw it to Aaron.
Which that's not think about that. That. Who cares about the owning and how much you make off of the shares? Right. That in itself. Yeah. Vince McMahon can no longer make the decisions or veto.
The fact he went from final say in the boardroom to basically, like we talked about last week, freaking Bruce Wayne at the end of that table being dismissed by John Daggett. Okay, bye. Your name's the door, but get the hell out. Yep. It's very bizarre to think about that.
Yes, JJ.
I want to echo Jeff's sentiment about the 2011 and the Summer of Punk being when creative started to fall off. You figure, look at how hot everything started there with the pipe bomb at the end of June, and then Money in the Bank and Punk winning the title, taking it home, putting in his refrigerator, his return a couple weeks later after the tournament and being eye to eye with Cena, both holding title belts, to the unification match at SummerSlam and being solidified as the undisputed champion, to Alberto cashing in and killing all of that.
Yep. Well, to be fair, at the time, we didn't really think Alberto was such a jackass.
Well, no, but
the crowd popped huge. I mean, it was Los Angeles. The crowd popped for the cash in.
I think they popped more because of Kevin Nash coming out doing a jackknife and not tearing his quad in the process.
Very true.
It was more about
But you figure all of those weeks, that month and a half that they had built that Punk Cena storyline, flushed down the toilet. Yep. And then it didn't get back on track until Survivor Series, when we had that true Summer of Punk run that didn't end until Rocky beat Punk at the Rumble.
Yeah. Aaron, you and I both said this ad nauseum. When was the last time the server legitimately 100% crashed on you?
CM Punk.
CM Punk 11 years ago. So JJ and I were there in attendance. You were at home calling me going, what the F? So it's, we haven't had that kind of, oh my God moment enough where your site went down, where these other internet sites had issues. And again, is that a big indication? Probably not in the big scheme of things, but for us in this room, that's huge. The fact that NoDQ actually went down because of one man saying whatever, all the things he was saying on that microphone. And Lord, if he wasn't CM Nostradamus, John Laurinaitis, Triple H, Stephanie, Vince, all in that promo.
And he's still bitter. And he's still bitter. The company that made him a millionaire, he is bitter. He is bitter.
And
because he didn't headline WrestleMania.
No, and he will stand on that soapbox till the day he dies, Virtue. He will.
Anyways.
Because he will.
Yeah. We can talk about CM Punk another time. Aaron, over back to you. I don't know if any super chats came in. I don't know if you want to add any more to this. I know you briefly talked a little bit about this whole boardroom shakeup in WWE.
Yeah, a few more super chats now. We have some breaking news.
Ooh.
I'm not sure if you guys have, don't get your hopes up here. I'm not sure if you guys have heard this or not, but Byron Cutler in the chat room really wanted us to know this and wanted me to say this. He spammed the chat room with this breaking news.
Why?
Ladies and gentlemen, WrestleMania 40 is taking place in Philadelphia. I don't know if you guys knew this or not.
I had no idea. I'm on Facebook and social media every day, and not even NoDQ had I seen a post from that. Not one. Nobody
Breaking
tweeted it,
news.
nothing.
WrestleMania in Philadelphia. How about
All
that?
right.
Yay.
So glad WrestleMania is coming here. So
I mean, heck, they've done it in New Jersey twice.
Yeah.
Anyways, just wanted to get that breaking news out of the way, and now
It's about going to WrestleMania. That's in
on that topic, but off the topic we're discussing, if Paul Heyman doesn't go into the Hall of Fame there, horrible.
No,
Horrible
he should.
decision. Has to be going in the Philly audience.
Yeah, exactly.
Along
doubt.
with maybe Dreamer and Raven too. But anyways.
Let's not ECW too much now.
all right.
The problem
so we do
is
have
that that's so obvious that WWE might not do it just because of that.
Right.
we do have a few more super chats here. Shanti has a great idea, and I think we will implement it. He sent in $2. He says, "Hey, on NoDQ Review 200, please bring back the 24/7 title, the super chat title."
Oh no.
Oh, I remember that.
I think we should. That might entice some super chats. We
I
might
think
have to.
I held the record for the short. I think I held that for 2 seconds.
We might have to give out a prize to the person that ends it as the super chat champion. We'll see. But I think that's a good idea. And Jordan Smith sent in $5. He says, now that Riddle is out, will Seth Rollins have a SummerSlam match? I mean, we did touch upon this earlier. Add to the main event. Most intriguing match this weekend, the Ric Flair match. Well, Jeff, you're wearing the Ric Flair shirt. Does the Ric Flair match entertain you more than the SummerSlam card?
I think the Ric Flair card, I'm more interested in that card than I am SummerSlam. I actually am, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I mean,
guys, hey, by the way, do you think, I know we're still waiting for Edge to come back, right? Because of that rumor that Brock was walked out, but they got him to come back. Is there any way they're keeping Seth free in case Brock decides to be a dick Saturday and they can have Seth come out and challenge Roman Reigns?
Could be.
Possibly.
I mean, like a safety net. Like, I don't know. Just, you never know.
You never know.
Well, Virtue, you remember their usual in case of emergency break glass guy is stuck in Vancouver working, so he can't drop down at the moment. So they may be pulling that with Seth. You're absolutely right.
I heard Goldberg was contacted when Brock first walked out. I know that pains Jeff's eardrums to hear that, and he may have to pour another drink.
I do not believe that at all.
Yeah, how would he be able to get in shape on 1 week's notice for this?
It's last man standing. Don't have to be in that much shape.
And I don't buy the Brock walking out stuff at all. If he truly walked out, he would have not been on SmackDown that night.
To be fair, Goldberg
if there was a scene so the moles would leak, it was Brock or someone getting in his ear, hey, Brock, storm out of here. Because I just believe, Brock's not going to F his paycheck up. No way.
You're right.
No.
That might have been
if he's
to find
mad
the
about
mole.
Vince retiring, he would have in his head, he would have just did his business through his contract, and then he wouldn't have come back after that. I don't buy it.
I agree.
Not buy that.
Yeah,
I totally
Not
agree
for
that
the
it
money
was
that
a
he
work
makes.
anyways, but that's just something I had heard.
Yeah, not for the money that he makes. No, he knows better.
If he was legit pissed, he probably would have flipped something over, and that would have been the end of it. He wouldn't have walked out.
Right. Goldberg showing up on a 1 week's notice, I just don't buy that.
To be fair, Goldberg did say, I'm always in shape and always ready. He did say something like that in a recent
But he
interview.
also said it took a lot of training and preparation to do the match when he came back in 2016, and he's older now.
And back to Brock's appearance, he tipped his hat to Vince McMahon. Dude, he just that's exactly to me what he did there at the end.
Hey, Virtue, I wanted to bring this up. This might be a controversial take on my end here. I wanted to bring up the whole CM Punk commentary on Sasha Banks and Naomi, and CM Punk was talking about how WWE didn't say anything about Brock Lesnar being unprofessional and letting the fans down. Well, Brock Lesnar actually showed up on SmackDown. He did not no-show. That's the big difference. Brock Lesnar did show up. Now, if Brock Lesnar did not show up on SmackDown and then he was out of SummerSlam and WWE did not say anything, they did not call him unprofessional or anything, then CM Punk would be right. But for CM Punk to compare Brock's situation with Sasha and Naomi and CM Punk leaving and WWE calling him unprofessional, to me, they're not the same thing. I just wanted to throw that out there. And a lot of people on social media were backing CM Punk, and I'm like, Brock showed up.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree with you
And-
100% there.
They
Aaron.
were back in CM Punk because they're AEW fanatics.
Yeah, and I'm sorry,
Period.
but
I'm
WWE
not gonna
was
lie.
right.
I watched that clip and I was cracking up at Jade Cargill's reaction sitting next to Punk. Like that was my favorite part of the whole thing was watching her
sadly,
reactions. But
in my opinion, he came off bitter in that.
did.
Oh,
He did
Boy.
come up bitter. And no matter what, WWE is right. Guess what? That is unprofessional to walk out. And
And
we
see-
people only say that it isn't because it's wrestling. If you do that in any other setting, any other job, your ass will be canned, and that
Man.
everybody would say that's unprofessional.
Steve Austin walked out. They called him unprofessional too.
Yeah.
That night.
Yeah.
Yeah, he let the fans down. Steve Austin, the biggest star in the history of the company.
Yep.
They buried him.
It is unprofessional. Just because you personally didn't buy a ticket to see Sasha and Naomi, there's a lot of little girls that they influence
There
that
are.
bought tickets to go see them, and you let them down.
I mean,
And then what are their
touched on
parents?
this
As a
before.
parent, what do I got to tell my kid now that loves wrestling or came to see a certain wrestler and that person no show like Warrior did back in the day too? Like
Yeah, Warrior did.
You have to,
He was
yeah.
fired.
I was watching the Broken Skull sessions recently that Bubba had done however long ago, and Bubba still cracks on Austin for that because Bubba got the match with Brock that night when Austin took his ball and went home.
Mhm.
So he even threw it back at Austin sitting there on the Broken Skull session, and they both had a chuckle about it. It was great.
Politics.
I think people are, and I'm going to include here James in here. I think people are way too quick to keep defending Sasha and Naomi. They walked out. Period.
Exactly.
They walked out on their job.
Right. You're an actor. You're paid for movie roles, but you don't like the script. You're supposed to do the right thing and just do the project, not quit on the project just because
Or
you don't like
talk
the
to
script.
the director, talk to the producer, and
Maybe
work.
they did, but
eyes.
we don't know that.
Well, but okay, and again, talking to Laurinaitis and Vince is a little bit different than talking to a Hollywood director producer, and I understand
Yeah.
that. But
Yes.
don't walk out. Walter, you made a good point. You know, there are people in the audience, not just little girls, people in the audience that
Yeah.
wanted to see Sasha Banks, that wanted to see Naomi. You know, that was an advertised Fatal 4-Way tag team title match that was not delivered on. Just like the first night of Austin getting Flair to be his little servant bitch after winning that match the week before was not delivered because Austin walked out. And, you know, people talking about, you know, Brock not getting, you know what? Guess what? Like Aaron said, Austin was the biggest star in the history of the company, not Hogan, because Austin drew more money in the hotter period. I'm sorry, I'm a Hulkamaniac, but I will take that bullet. Austin walked out. They didn't even wait till the show was over to bury him, and then they went on Confidential Saturday, and Vince and JR tore him a new one in front of the world.
Yep.
So,
And what was so bad about Naomi
it's
and
different for
Sasha's Naomi and Sasha's booking wasn't even that bad. You're both going to be in a main event, and then you're going to end up losing, but you still got a title shot on a main event on a premium live event, and then you can go back to the tag titles and make it important.
Dude, I'm
It was just
telling
a
you,
little
I'm telling you, as a heel losing in main events, that it should be more gratifying than going over and having people cheer for you. It's just that it is. Trust me, and I just can't believe they'd give that up.
And to Torvik 23 about card subject to change being on every card. You know what? You're right. Card subject to change, but that is at the whim of the company changing the card because of
an injury.
It's beyond their control. And two people can take their shit and leave. That's out of their control.
Yeah. Exactly. Injuries, family emergencies. That's totally different.
Aaron, any other super chats we need to catch up on?
Yeah, Oofman sent in that we in Jersey have hosted 4 Manias. Did they?
The
Sure.
WrestleMania 4 and 5.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
45.
Yep.
And now, of course, and that's true about the last 2, even though it was dubbed New York WrestleManias, New
Right.
York, New Jersey. but
Yeah.
but the building is in New Jersey.
Well, that's because even New Jersey doesn't want to admit they're New Jersey. To be fair,
That's a good trivia. See, we're caught up now.
Is your
All
mic
right,
cutting
gentlemen.
out, Jeff? Jeff, is your mic cutting out? Like,
I don't know.
Just sound, you sound blank a couple of seconds. I don't know.
That might
No.
be.
It wasn't sounding like it was me censoring myself, so I don't get the F-bombs on Aaron's channel.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
Gentlemen, we did it. We got through this, and it's a relatively good time. You know what time it is, though. Plug time, and maybe we'll sneak out of here without an after dark. So, JJ, welcome back this week. I will start with you. Great to have you on this show. We're getting close to 200.
Once again, Virtue, thank you for having me. Aaron, thank you for having me back. You can check out all my content coming up this weekend. I've got my last Disney movie review for the month, an extremely goofy movie. This Saturday's new release Saturday, The Gray Man. It's a Netflix original movie with Chris Evans and Ryan Gosling. Immediately after that, over on the Jeff Meacham Network and his multiverse of media, our SummerSlam coverage, where myself, Noah Foster, and James Hebert will be calling the action. And then on Sunday, the War Zone, the weekly acquisition report, some of the newest additions to my ever-growing media library. You can find all that content on the Casa D18 Studios channel.
Hey, I wanna hear more from James. We got to get James back on the NoDQ review.
Fuck.
Apologies can be emailed to nodqvirtue@gmail.com. We don't treat that private chat of the NoDQ review like we do Twitter. That can be cleared up very simply, and I'll leave it at that.
No censor that time, Jeff. I heard that one.
After all, when I didn't want to have one. Rift. Okay.
Walter, go ahead. Do your plugs, Walter.
I let one out on Tuesday, so hey, and it just came out. So for me, I'm on Twitter and Instagram. My Twitter is
Well, what did I
Walter.
miss? What did Jeff do?
He said the F word.
Aaron brought James up.
I thought he passed gas or something. Just an F-bomb, whatever. Go ahead,
So
Walter.
you can follow me on Instagram at Cal Fire Farms. It's spelled CALFYR Farms. If you're into that, yeah, you can obviously see the picture and what my business is, but I won't mention it just to not get any flags or anything on this video. But and I'm also on Twitter at Walter Alex Cruz.
Good having you on. Jeff Meacham, yes.
Yeah, all right. So
Mr.
at
Greenscreen.
the bottom of the hour, coming up here after the NoDQ review around 6:30 Pacific, 9:30 Eastern. JJ and I will be back live on the air, and I love it. My logo's blocked out. I gotta love that shit. We are going to be ranking all incarnations of the most elite faction in wrestling history, the Four Horsemen. Of course, Flair's weekend is coming up this weekend as far as last match. Tomorrow, is it tomorrow? Either tomorrow or Saturday, they're having the Horseman panel out at StarCast. So we're kind of taking the jump on that and doing our own ranking of who indeed is the best Horseman faction. Now, we've been talking about this, JJ and I, for months now. For the record, one more time out there, everybody who's watching, it's going to come on the Casa channel and the Jeff Meacham Network.
This is the hook to tune in.
Is not the one with Paul Roma. Nay. It is not the one with Sid Vicious. Oh, no. It's not even the one with the guy who maybe he's a horseman, maybe not. Ha, Jeff Jarrett. Who is the worst horseman incarnation? You have to find out at the bottom of the hour, kids.
Okay.
Interesting, because I would have gone with Paul Roma for sure.
Well, Paul Roma's the worst horseman.
Right.
The worst individual horseman member is definitely Roma. But as far as the incarnation, the grouping of horsemen, there is somebody worse than Roma.
When Roma as an
Steve
individual
McMichael.
is a worse horseman than a horseman who tried to murder another horseman, looking at you, Sid, that's some shit.
Ooh, well, there you go. Stay tuned.
Wasn't Steve McMichael part of that group at one point? Because he's got to rank low.
Hey, let's not pick on poor Mongo. The dude's got MS. The guy's got stuff.
Actually, I thought Mongo was very entertaining.
I did too. I actually thought
Even
he
his
was
klutziness in the ring, and I know he's battling a serious illness. He was one of the personalities on WCW Nitro I enjoyed watching.
I agree.
He was entertaining, but
No matter
to
ring
be
or
part of the
announcing.
Four Horsemen, I don't know.
Blair said it best on the documentary that was on shelves for about 2 months until Chris Benoit had his weekend that he had. if there was ever a horseman in terms of credibility, athleticism, and just the freaking badass charisma, it was Mongo.
And didn't he put Deborah on the map? Didn't Deborah get
Let's
blown
not
because she
bring
was
up
mad?
the Deborah part. We'll just
I'm just saying. He put her on the map. Give him his credit.
All right, Jeff, you good with
that
your
wasn't Mongo's
plugs?
choice, I don't think. To be fair.
Jeff, you all caught up with your plugs?
I am good to go. I mean,
Okay.
of course, we're going to be doing the Ric Flair pay-per-view Sunday, but I can plug that ad nauseum Saturday night. So
Over to you, Aaron. I know at least one super chat.
Yeah, and I would say, I'm just going to throw it out there, my favorite Horseman group would be Ric Flair, Barry Windham, Arn, and Tully. That would be
Hall of
the top one
Famers.
for me.
There you go. Nothing wrong with that.
But you'll have to check out Jeff's stream, and if you miss it live, you can watch it on demand. Sounds like it'll be an interesting one. And thank you all for tuning in, as always. Much appreciated. Shanti sent in a $2 super chat. Says, yay, it's not even 3:30 p.m. I can go enjoy the rest of the day.
Yay.
I love the Hawaiian time, baby.
Yeah. Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you. Says, can Naomi even make it on the Indies /AEW? I think so. I think she would.
The topic.
I mean, I think she would do well in AEW, and I would guess AEW would be her destination, but I think she would do well wherever she went.
Like any company, it's the booking. That's all that depends on.
I would think both of them would do well as far as an in-ring talent on either the Indies or AEW. It's just a matter of, does Tony and his locker room want to incur what could be a attitude situation with Mercedes? That's the bottom line there.
And over in Manila, where Michael Wayne is, it's 9:20 a.m. So he's just really starting his day watching us.
Happy Friday over there. Don't tell me what happens. I don't
He's having his breakfast as he watches the NoDQ review. So yeah, stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the latest. We'll be doing the coverage this weekend of SummerSlam, Ric Flair's last match. Jeff, you're doing a watch along, right, on the NoDQ channel.
Has graciously allowed me to include NoDQ in the watch along output. So thank you for that, Aaron. It's going to be a fun night. Aaron said he may or may not drop in as make his recap part of our stream. We'll see how Sunday night's still a long way away. It's Thursday. I understand that, but it seems so far away right now. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, so that'll be coming up this weekend. We got a busy weekend. Jeff Jarrett's going to be a busy man. He's going to be at both shows. And thank you all again for tuning in. Much love to everybody for their kind messages over the past couple of days. Shout out to Josh Mansfield. Shout out to the Cleaver Colin Andrew at NoDQ.com/Colin. And take care, everybody. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy SummerSlam. And that's all I got. Virtue, let's wrap it up.
Follow me on Twitter, if you dare, at NoDQ_Virtue. Go to NoDQ.com/merch and check out the great shirts over there. And you can buy an apology from me right there. There's the Virtue I'm Sorry shirt. And yes, the NoDQ logo is on the back. This is episode 198 of the review. We are 2 away from 200, which I believe should happen if everything goes according to plan. Thursday, August 18th, I believe is the date. And that's where you, the NoDQ Galaxy, for the entire session will be the moderator via Super Chats. And Aaron said he might be bringing back the 24/7 Super Chat Championship. So we will see. Don't worry, you can't troll me. I'll have topics ready to go just in case you guys are quiet. But I expect you guys to be loud and to let us know what you want us to talk about. Jeff.
I just want to say real quick, hello to Zach and everybody in New Orleans at the bar on Bourbon Street. We appreciate you guys watching on the NoDQ.com channel and the WQ Network. We'll see y'all at 9:30 for the Horseman Show. Stay tuned.
Have it for JJ, for Walter, for Jeff, and Aaron Rift, and for you, Caitlin. We're thinking about you. See you next time.